My name is Tiffany Montague. I manage the Google-NASA relationship, and I've also been extremely involved with the Google Lunar X PRIZE since shortly before we launched this back in September 2007. So with me today, I have a whole host of X PRIZE Foundation folks, and what we want to do is give you an overview of the Google Lunar X PRIZE and tell you where we are, the teams, and the general overview of the competition. And this is the first stop on a DC tour that we're doing. So we thought it'd be cool to kind of meet you guys and get you a little bit more connected to the mothership. Take it away. Mark.
Okay. I'm Brett Alexander. I'm the Executive Director for Space at the X Prize Foundation. So I run the Google Lunar X Prize and a couple other things. And you have pretty much my entire team here with you. A number of us are headquartered here in Washington. A couple of folks are in from California and just happened to be here, so we dragged them along to come over and join. Will Pomerantz is Director for Space Projects, and he'll do most of the briefing. All started off. But Will's been with the foundation for a number of years doing space activities. Mike Fabio over here is our internet guru, holding the flip cam and putting me on YouTube as we speak. Mike came on board a few months ago, but he's really in charge of revamping our web presence, making our community outreach, and getting us a fan base out there in the world. Becky Ramsey is our Director of Communications, so she's the one who sends our message out in a lot of the traditional ways. As well as making sure that we have good communications and educational outreach across the board. Behind her is Nikki Jordan, who works with me on the Lunar Lander Challenge, which is different from the Google Lunar X Prize. It's a small challenge funded by NASA through their Centennial Challenges program, and actual rockets launching and landing here in an event in October in New Mexico that will be interesting. And next to her is Pierre-Damien Pajour, who is an intern of ours from France, from Toulouse, France, and we just held an event for the Google Lunar X Prize teams in Strasbourg, France, at the International Space University, and he was very instrumental in helping us with that since he spoke the language. So just quickly before I turn it over to Will, Becky, would you mind sitting there so you could click the button and slides. Just pull it over to you so that I can tell you where to click. If you go to the next chart, fundamentally, what is the prize that we're talking about? This is a $30 million prize, where the first prize is $20 million, second place prize $5 million, some bonus prizes. That $30 million is put up by Google. So this is your money that'll go to the winners, doesn't pass through our hands. There is some additional funds that you give us for operating this prize. It pays for us. We also get additional monies elsewhere. But it's a $30 million prize purse for the first private person company to put a lander on the moon that can do three things. It can land on the moon safely, it can move around on the moon, and it can communicate back. Those are the three enabling factors that says, hey, the private sector can do what only has been done by governments before, which is go to another world, explore around, and communicate back. And if the private sector can do it for a factor of 10, 20 cheaper than governments can, not only does it allow the private sector to move out into space, but it also allows governments to do things better and get more money or more effective use out of their money. So we all like that. In terms of transmitting back data, we've outlined two mooncasts that they have to transmit, which are high definition images, high definition video, such that when that comes back, people will feel like they are there on the surface. They'll be seeing this. They'll send back YouTube quality near real time, meaning a few minutes after landing kind of video of the surface, and then later they'll, over a longer period of time, hours if you will, downlink high definition video and stuff that can be used in both traditional media later, but on the evening news as well as for documentaries, etc. We expect it will have been 35, 40 years between the last time anybody was on the surface of the moon, which was the Soviets in 1976, and this private team. We expect to get there before any governments do, so we expect the entire world to be watching, and of course the entire world will see that it's the Google Lunar X Prize.
I was just wondering, poll of people in the room, how many people were born after 1976? Okay.
I'll refrain from saying what I want to say. But yeah.
Thanks, Alan.
How many people remember when Armstrong walked on the moon?
Thanks, Armstrong.
I remember the last one.
That guy has done everything.
What a guy.
Pedaled really
I read
fast.
76 over.
Next chart, Becky. One of the things that we're doing around town today, over the next few days, now that Tiffany's come to join us, is trying to explain to folks not only what are we doing, but who is it that's doing it. Make sure that everybody understands that we're really bringing two organizations together, both Google and the X Prize Foundation. Often when we go talk to folks, they think we work for Google. They don't understand that the X Prize is an actual organization, not just the name of the prize. So we're trying to say, hey, we're bringing the best of the technology world together with the prize incentive model that was really revolutionized by the X Prize Foundation a few years ago, and saying, okay, here's what we're actually doing. And as Will likes to say, this is the only math you're going to see in the presentation. So that helps with Washington policymakers. Next chart. All right, so what really are our goals? We're talking about two main things. One is revolutionizing exploration in space, and the other is making sure that we are disseminating that message to everybody. So it's educating, it's inspiring, it's incentivizing, enabling and qualifying a new generation of engineers, opening the space frontier beyond the traditional mindthink of governments and NASA and other areas. So educating the global public so that they want to do more space exploration so that we can get more out of it. Next chart. All right. Why don't I turn it over to you, Will? We're getting into a lot of the details here. And
Yeah, absolutely. Before you go on, please, and I'm sorry if I missed it in the first couple of minutes, what does NASA say?
NASA's actually a big supporter of this. The administrator, I've talked to him many times about it. He's a big fan of it. He likes to have things being done differently. And it's complementary. If it works, it changes how they can do exploration. So it makes their ability to go out there more affordable, more sustainable in the current budget environment that is a negative budget environment. So in that sense, it's a good thing. What they will also tell you is this does not replicate what they do. So if this enables a capability, well, their capability for $1 billion lander does a lot more, and it does it in a different risk environment, the way government can do things. You know, their risk tolerance is very low. If you're going to spend $1 billion, it has got to work. Whereas the private sector, if they spend $25, $50 million on something, there's a different risk profile, risk assumption they can take. Now, that being said, NASA, in the end, if this works, will be a major customer of the firms that come out of this and that have the ability to do things. So you can take a NASA instrument before putting it on a $1 billion lander and put it on a $25 million lander, send it to the moon and see if it even works in the environment, because you can afford that risk before you put it on the $1 billion lander or the human spacecraft that will take people back to the moon. So far they've been big fans.
What I'm always struck by is the number of people who think that only NASA is allowed to go to the moon. When we did this launch event in Los Angeles at the Wired Next Fest, I had a number of people come up to me and ask me if we had gotten NASA's permission to go to the moon. So it's odd that people think that, but I think that's probably in the court of public opinion. They probably think that it's only the domain of NASA.
But at the same time, doesn't the FAA regulate who can blast a rocket into the air?
So yes, they do. They because of the Outer Space Treaty from 1967, the U.S. government is responsible for anything that's launched from its soil. So if the launch happens here, government regulates it. If it's a U.S. entity or person, they launch from somewhere else, the U.S. government still has the ability to regulate it. So the way that's done, I spent 5 years at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy for space issues. They end up doing an interagency coordination and having a final say on things like that. You can deny the launch license based on foreign policy or other reasons. And so there's multiple ways the government has its hook in there. So yes, you need NASA to be a fan. You need the government writ large to be a fan. And so things that you wouldn't want to do is say, hey, we're going up there specifically to like roll over the Apollo 11 site and blow it up. Well, they're not going to let you do that. And it's not because they have a law somewhere that says you can't do it. But there's other ways that the government will say, you know, I don't think that's the safest thing to do or the right thing to do.